guys, today I'm going to be doing some Lady Gaga inspired fashion. The croquis are going to be heavily influenced by her documentary known as 5'2". I have seen this many times and ironically find her personal style much more intriguing than her, let's say, show style, stage style. However, these drawings are going to be pulling inspiration from her essence as a person, but her style as a performer in terms of the actual clothes. The film is a very interesting showcase of what it's like to be someone that famous. I think it's a very interesting topic for a documentary given the fact that she is probably one of the most successful musicians of our time. So it challenges this idea of, is it worth it? What are the costs? However, at the end of the day, I do find her to be an incredibly respectable woman as a performer in terms of style. So I am going to be using a lot of bright colors. There are some studs, some very extreme silhouettes, perhaps a plate or two. I'll get into that later. So let's start with drawing out the proportions, and I'll get more into that later. So when I was planning this look, I pulled a bit of inspiration from Mike, who suggested, I don't know, do something crazy, like put plates on her or something. Because there is a fact about Lady Gaga being known for this super extravagant, over-the-top, excessive style. She tends to have, like, such items as mates, I don't know, things on her dress or body that are very extravagant. So I pulled inspiration from his comment about, you know, do something crazy, like put plates on her or something. And I love this idea of doing a hat type of headpiece that is inspired by a plate. Could be a satellite, could be some kind of a porcelain something for her head. And then like very long extensions. But as I mentioned, ironically, I find this to be just one part of her, and her true essence is far more than just her style. If you watch 5'2", the point that she's making often is that the album Joanne was inspired by a very personal family member that was something very close to her heart, and she started dressing in, as she said, back to black, going to the typical white t-shirt, jeans, black boots. And she kind of diverged away from this typical Lady Gaga style to kind of find herself again and go for a very different traditional style of like acoustic songs. And but I think she started a really great idea of celebrities and the music industry being very influential on fashion. So as you can see, I'm doing a very theatrical silhouette with a very big skirt. It's even, I'm thinking about doing like a double layer. So it's a double layer with some gathering and ruffles in the skirt with a very structured bodice, some kind of a neck piece, and gloves to finish it off. Often with my croquis, I go a little bit more conservative with the poses. However, given that this is based off of a performance type of style, I wanted the position to be almost like mid-dance, and that's why I'm also going for these asymmetrical studs in the design. This is definitely a solo croquis kind of page, and that's why I really want to fill up the space. There is a bit of negative space underneath her arm, but given that there's already so much going on in the design itself and the position, often with these types of croquis I'll do only one per page, and that's why I'm really detailing with all of these elements in the gloves, the asymmetrical studs, and her position is also one-sided with the leg and the arm out, so it just gives you this essence of being on stage mid-performance. Movement is really important with croquis because you want to give the essence of being on a runway, the adrenaline that fashion offers, and the croquis really give this like taking a breath kind of feeling, and that's often what I would hear from photographers when I was on shoots. They would tell the models to take a breath in when they tell them that they're going to take the shot, and I find that to be a really interesting idea when I'm drawing my croquis, almost as if they took a breath and they lifted into a very airy pose, or they were mid-movement. And especially with this type of Lady Gaga performer-inspired look, I find this to be a very essential inspiration. So as you can tell, this look is definitely over the top. It's kind of paying homage to the early 2000s runway kind of fashion that we don't really see often anymore. It's not as common anymore to see couture fashion, let's say. I would say that the idea of house name designers are going down and down as new consumers are learning how to DIY clothing. Thrifted clothing is also rising in the fashion industry. However, over the top price couture handmade garments are just slowly kind of dying out. That's why I do appreciate performers, because they are some of the few consumers to be keeping this idea of couture fashion, custom, over-the-top designs alive in the fashion industry, even runway shows. And nowadays, I would say that this is a dying art overall, and I wanted to really pay homage to back in the day when I used to go to New York Fashion Week or maybe Mercedes-Benz Lincoln Center. I saw a lot of different shows, whether it be in presentation form or just simple runway. I remember the adrenaline of this in the moment debut of a fashion collection. Due to the rise in social media, this is another contribution to why Fashion Week and overall high fashion is just slowly kind of dying out. So this look is paying homage more to the traditional early 2000s fashion industry. As I finish out my croquis, I look at the overall appearance and the clothes as a mathematical problem, because the proportions at the end of the day have to be balanced out as a drawing. Maybe in actuality it wouldn't be an actual piece or garment, however, as a drawing I need to make sure that the garment is balanced. The shoulders are really big, so I made the rest of the arms elongated with gloves, and because the skirt is really big, I made it short and accentuated the waist. These are the things that make it balanced as a drawing, and also in terms of the clothing. In addition, I prioritize the balancing of colors. I have a primary color, which are the hot pinks, and the shading with the light pinks to showcase the light. And I also have accent colors of gray and black to make it pop, and a little bit of the yellow from the hair. It must have an overall color scheme to be cohesive as a look, and this is just a common knowledge with fashion. So at the end of the day, I think she looks like a pretty balanced out croquis. So if you are familiar with this pose, you're probably semi-laughing right now because it is the very traditional 50s glamour pose Hollywood celebrity, big hair, big lashes. She does like the weird thing where her like shoulders are forward and her legs do a weird thing. And I'll be honest, I tried to do this pose in real life and it didn't even work out. I don't even know how bodies do this, and this is why I love croquis, because the actual fact is that croquis were designed to be like mannequins. I often don't fill in skin color or add super muscle details, anatomy, etc., because this is not actual human proportions. They are designed to be 3 heads longer than human proportions. That's why they're called 9 or 10 heads, because the human body is actually 6 head proportions. However, these are 9 to 10. So not only is it very unrealistic in terms of proportions, croquis are meant to be nothing like humans. So almost take it as if they're mannequins, not even models, just non-human figures that are meant only for displaying the clothing. So this extreme pose, don't try it at home, kids. The inspiration behind this look was subconsciously very ballet inspired. It's somehow very soft while having an aggressive, large silhouette. So I am drawing a very, very large skirt and some ruffles, gathers at the waist. And I somehow recall Lady Gaga at some point wearing an enormous proportional bow at some point, could have been on her head, but I did pull a lot of the inspiration of the general silhouette and execution from ballet type of clothing. There's somewhat of a leotard underneath with a translucent chiffon skirt over with this ruffle layer on the bottom of the skirt and some kind of a high-low silhouette. I know a lot of people are against this silhouette because it's very early 2000s, but for some reason I've always loved it and I have no shame in drawing it, so this is the ballet look. At this point in the drawing, I'm much more aware of the intention of my cohesion with the prior look, almost as if it were a capsule collection. In some way, I guess you could call this capsule collection cohesion as a design concept, because when you are designing a collection, the important thing to remember is that it must be cohesive with the other looks. And in this respect, the prior look had an accent of hot pink to really add dimension with all the grays and the neutrals. So with this one, yet it is a bit softer, the silhouette is much larger, and so I focus on a lighter color scheme with a bit of the pop of hot pink, but focusing more on these neutrals that are somewhat still consistent with the prior look. Similarly to a capsule collection that would be focusing on certain elements that are similar to each other to make it look cohesive, I still want it to be different enough to where it keeps the viewers intrigued. So this is the end of the second drawing. However, there were some details that I was focusing on towards the end, including under her arm, right about that area is her tattoo, and I believe it's some kind of a musical instrument. I haven't really seen it up close because I'm not that much of a Lady Gaga fan, but I do love that idea of a tattoo and kind of a hidden personal spot under the arm, so I thought it was appropriate to add that in homage to her. But in addition, I did forget a general area on the side of the skirt. There is one line that I forgot to fill in because realistically, if a skirt was curved that much, there is a line right there. Oh, I forgot it. I want to go back and add it, but it's okay. This is the reality of ink drawing. There's just so many things going on that I did forget to add that, but I'm just shading in and adding some details, except for that one. But anyway, doesn't matter. So those are the looks. We have a ballet beauty queen and some kind of a rock star princess. So I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for drawing with me.